Hello everybody, this is Roll at Winterbrose. In this video presentation, we're going to show you a couple of quick tips that we learned when we were trying to optimize our website for the Google test, which recently just came out, and to make sure you optimize your websites for mobile devices. We were a little bit happy with our catalog section of the products and our Winterbrose website, so we wanted to run it through the test to see what we need to do to get it optimized for mobile devices. Of course, the first step was we had to go to the Google testing site, which we're going to provide you a link at the end of this video presentation, so you can just watch the video right now and see what's going to happen. So what we did first is we type into our URL name, and then we did the run test button down here. So then when it came back the results, wow, we just really were surprised. We thought it would be close to mobile friendly, if not already. So it was kind of a wake-up call. You can see we had 4 issues listed here: clickable elements too close together, viewport not set, text too small to read, and content wider than screen. And it all turned out to be fairly easy to fix, not too difficult, but because our page was kind of simple. But however, depending on how complicated your page is, it might be a little more difficult to fix. But we're going to go through some real quick tips that'll definitely help you. So we're not sure what kind of a web editor you're using. However, if you don't have the money or don't have the time to research one, a really quick one to get is this Brackets. It's a really nice utility. It works with your default browser, and it does some really nice formatting and stuff. Of course, there's some other ones out there that are really good too. All depends on your individual preference. You can actually use just a text-only editor because most HTML is just text-based. There's no formatting inside it. Outside of the actual structure with tags and stuff. So use whichever one you like, and you should be able to follow this presentation regardless of which one you have. We decided that the first issue we was going to address as we were going to take care of the viewport not set problem. So we was going to add a line into our HTML, and you can see the line down there, the meta name viewport, content, blah, blah, blah. Basically, you stick it after the meta content tag entry and before your title tag for your web page, and we'll show you how we did that. Here you can see we have brackets loaded up, and you can see here we added a line in. It might be hard to read. Hopefully you can see it. You can see this. This is our meta content row, and here was our title row, and in between we put that meta tag for viewport. And we used a generic one. There are all kinds of parameters you can change on it if you want to research it and make it more applicable to your application and your website. But here's what the one we showed earlier is the one we recommend if you don't know what you're doing. So once we did that, we went back and saved it and uploaded it again to our hosting, RSP host, website host. And then once we did that, you had to click this little button up here in the right corner to retest the URL that you had at the Google site. So we did that to see what we might have fixed or not fixed when that changed. And surprisingly, just adding that also fixed the other one where we had said the text was too small. So it fixed 2 problems at once, which we weren't expecting that. We thought we was going to have to address that separately. And if you have that problem and it says text is too small, it doesn't go away when you do the viewport option. We have that in our tips at the end of the video, how to fix that. We basically say at the beginning, you just basically want to make sure you have a fixed size. If you wrote your code without any sizing for the text inside the body of your HTML, we just recommend you put 2 big tags at the beginning of your the body, right after the body tag, and then close them out at the end, right after the body tag. But for us, the viewport fixed it. It might fix it for you too, so that'd be a great thing. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next 2 problems: the clickable elements too close together and content wider than screen. Now you can see here, it's basically on our menu bar at the top, the models, images, tutorials, and software, those buttons we put up there. They were a little too close together. Google didn't like that. It's because on the smaller devices, like if you're using a small smartphone, your fingers are quite large compared to how big the screen on a smartphone is. So they just think that if it's too close that you might accidentally hit the wrong button. So they want you to space them out just a little bit. And unfortunately, if you look at we had a table down below that. It said here the content was wider than the screen. Was talking about our table because it was like 1,024 wide, and it had a fixed width, so it wasn't going to shrink down. That along with we found out when we were playing, trying to fix the problems, that our clickable elements inside the table were too close too. So since we had so many images in there, we decided to fix it all at once. And here's what we did. Now this is another HTML editor. This is Composer, but we want to use it because it shows a little bit more visual presentation of the web page. So you can see up in here we added some space between our 4 buttons. You can see the little gaps in between models, images, tutorials, and software. We did that using the NBSP semicolon. We went right in directly in HTML code in between each of the buttons, right after the anchor closing tag, and we inserted those to space those out. And to fix the table problem, we decided it was too much to reconstruct the table and make it a narrow table, because on a computer it might be wider and smaller. So we found a really optimal solution. It works great, and we've done this on our other pages. Is we basically made a row outside the table for all our images with spaces in between them. So we had 9. Looks like we had 9 images across. So what we did was we put 16 spaces across there, or something like that, and we stuck an image to the left, skipped 2 spaces, and next image, and drug them out of the table one at a time to make the row, and it was a centered. We made that row centered, and it works really good because now when you collapse or expand that thing, they all flow around to the next line and back up. So we basically just recommended getting rid of the table altogether, because the table usually has a fixed size. Even if you do the 100% width of the screen, if you have like a single line, like we did at the top with our small buttons and our Winterbrose, that works good, but it didn't work too good when you have a whole bunch of images you want to draw. So once we got that fixed, we reran the test again, and our page is mobile friendly. We're ready to go. So the last step here is, once you've got to this point in the project, and this is actually a live stream we're looking at here, you want to submit to Google with this little button here. So we'll go ahead and do that really quick. We'll click that Submit to Google, and it's going to make us go through this little test, make sure we're human using the computer. Have different ones. They're pretty cool. It'll submit your request, and as soon as it does, it'll pop up. It'll validate it, so you're in the queue. Like it says here, don't do it more than one time. Once you've got it submitted and it's working good, just click Got It. You're good to go. And now Google's aware that your page is now mobile friendly, and they'll put you back on their search list, and it'll be a great thing for you, for your customers and your users, and whoever the web page is out there for. We wanted to come back real quick to the products page and show you really quickly how it looked. You can see you don't know that it's not in a table form anymore, but these images are actually just in a bunch of rows going across. And you can see here we only had 8 images on the bottom row, and it's centered quite nicely. So when we have the 9th one, then we'll move on again to the next row. But it worked out pretty good. It's mobile friendly. What we can do is show you a real quick trick. What you can do is when you're looking at your page and you want to test the mobile friendly, you can take this minimize button here, and you can grab the edge, and we're going to grab the edge here and see how we're going to slide it left and forward. You can see how the rows are sliding around. So like if you're simulating different sizes, like maybe a tablet that might only be about that wide, or a cell phone maybe about that wide, you can see how sorry about that. Let me get off this. Excuse me, let me come right back. There it is. Was trying to move this around. So you can see now, like if you was on a cell phone, they could still see all the images. They kind of rolled around. So that worked out pretty good. So we was happy with that. We're happy with the end result for us, and we hope that it helped you. So let's show you a few tips. So a couple things we found when you're building your website, if you haven't already done it, if you're just starting out, make sure you add the viewport tag at the beginning of your HTML code. Somewhere right in the beginning, right after the body tag. Increase your size. We just use 2 bigs, and of course you're going to put 2 of the ending tags with the slash bigs at the end. Make sure your images aren't too large, maybe 300 or less than 300 pixels wide, depending on what you want your site to look like. We use some smaller ones for different things for our catalog, but some of our individual pages we use a little bit larger. But you got to remember the devices looking at might be a cell phone, it could be a tablet, it could be a desktop computer, so you're not sure. So by keeping them smaller, then they're easier to view on each of those devices. Plus, if you make them smaller too, when you first design it, in whatever your image editors you use, you'll find that you're going to get, when you do them, when you look at them, you're going to see if the text is clear and the image is clear, and you might want to redo them instead of shrinking them down or something. Make sure you put some space between images on your page. And of course, like we said, we like to avoid tables. Instead, just add a row of images that are centered and they have spacing in between them. But it's all up to your personal taste and what works for you. Here's a couple links. Here's the link for the Google website mobile friendly test. If you want to read about this subject a little deeper, your first multi-device site. This is a nice little blog from the developers at Google. That's a nice link to go to. And actually, there's another blog down here, 5 ways to make your site meet Google's mobile friendly test, which is pretty good too. In fact, on their site, when we found it after we'd already started this, we found that they addressed, I think, four of the things they addressed were the 4 things we had with ours in the beginning. Well, we certainly hope that this video might have helped you a little bit to encourage you to actually test your web page and make sure it is mobile friendly, and some of the things that you can do to hopefully get past that. We hope that you don't have too much problem, that you might have found a little help out of this video. Have a great day.